The Movies of the Meek, where we watch made-for-TV movies and miniseries so you don't have to. From Gia to Xenon, Hysteria to Sybil, welcome to Movies of the Meek.
So Descendants is the 2015 made-for-TV movie by the Disney Channel, which is about the sons and daughters of some of Disney's most evil villains being sent from... They've been imprisoned on this island, and so they're getting the opportunity to go to a school on the mainland, and it is about the hilarity and insanity that ensues. Now, before I watched this movie, I tweeted all the things that I thought would happen just based upon the premise of the movie, and also based upon me watching one music video, which is for that terrible dubstep song that starts the movie called Rotten to the Core, which I will be honest, if I hadn't seen that music video before I watched the movie, I would have shut the fucking movie off.
That was one of the reasons why this movie annoyed me.
Because when that is your bar that you're setting for a movie, I was like, go boy. But having seen it beforehand, I was fine with it. So my theories that I had, and I'll go through all of them, tell you which ones I got right, were Mel ends up realizing that living up to your parents' expectations isn't worth losing who you want to be. That happens. Mm-hmm. This is even more apparent when the, I assume, love story or whatever with Beauty and the Beast's son happens. That happens. That's true. I also assumed that the kingdom would learn about, we all have a little good and evil inside. That was wrong. It's really just like they like when Mel uses magic on their hair. And then I was like, I think that at the end, Maleficent is going to tell her daughter that she's proud of her. That did not happen. And I was like, whoa.
No.
Like, you're just a shitty person. And then I thought that Carlos would come to love dogs because he's Cruella de Vil's son, and that would be the ultimate irony. That did happen. And then I wrote, also, Jay should find out that Aladdin is actually his father, and that he acts more like him than Jafar. Yeah. And Jafar is really a sorcerer. He's not just like a petty thief. And so it made sense to me that Jay would find out that he is Aladdin's son. And then that would also be like a huge twist within all of them because, they would have these moments where they're like, all these people treated us shitty and we're going to fight against him. And then Jay would find out that Aladdin's his dad and he'd be like, oh shit, I've never really been one of you.
Yeah.
And he'll have to choose sides. So I thought that would happen. That didn't happen.
Not at all.
He just is Jafar's kid.
Why was he written like Aladdin's kid?
I have no idea.
Why is he a petty... I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand the Descendants' ethnicities because they vary greatly from their parents. And like you said, like even their personalities don't even make any sense. But Jay is like Native American and Asian, and his father is clearly of Middle Eastern descent. I'm talking about within the movie's universe, not within like the canon of these characters.
Okay.
Like they didn't even bother to write like the same traits from parent to offspring.
Yeah.
But then also didn't even bother to cast people to relate to them.
And that was
But I understand.
One of the things that I was thinking about is that maybe it was that they didn't want to have the cast so overloaded with magical people, and so they felt a need to have Carlos de Vil, who is just a person that logically, I guess, Cruella de Vil wanted to steal dogs, so Carlos is like a little scamp running around wanting to steal stuff. And then the same thing with and so that was where I think the characterization of Jay comes in, which is that he's not really like Jafar because Jafar's a sorcerer. Yeah. Jafar is an evil manipulator. He's more like Aladdin because they wanted that kind of like tough guy, like brawler kind of aesthetic.
And also, they've been living in the streets their whole lives, so it would make sense for him. I guess.
And so, but my thing with that is that I thought that it would have been more logical, instead of having Jafar and his son Jay, maybe they should have just picked like Shan Yu from Mulan, who's the giant evil guy that kills everyone. That way you could have he could have been like a huge buff jock, That
would have made more sense.
And that would have made more sense, and there would have been serious contention between the daughter of Mulan and the son of Shan Yu. But yeah, so that but I mean, yeah, that's the world that they put it in. And that's the thing that I found to be the most interesting about it. Yeah, I didn't honestly, it's not a perfect movie by any means.
But it's a good concept, I think.
It's an incredible concept. And that's why, I've seen this movie 4 times now, because I got obsessed with it. And I started just delving into the concepts of where they're living and the world that they're in. Because I mean, the most obvious thing that you can think about is whoa, this is this society where all the good people got together and they realized to banish all the evil from the world. And so this is about the people that were considered evil rising up and fighting against the totalitarian hierarchy.
Yeah.
That's the easy thing that you could think of. But the thing that I thought was more interesting to think about is what is evil and what makes these people evil? And is it fair to, one, if you're living in an anarchistic society, which they are on this island, they're clearly living in an entire world of anarchy where the biggest gun wins.
It's chaos,
It's
Max.
chaos on that island. And so is it fair to expect your kids to be living up to an ideal of evil that was originally established in the old world? Okay? Mm-hmm. Is it fair of Maleficent to be how come you're not evil enough in this land where, we all steal from each other and maim and kill and fight all the time? You're not evil enough in this world. And how is it logical that Ben, son of Beauty and the Beast, is oh, these children, they're innocent because we've allowed them to be born in this fucking nightmarish hellscape. And you know what? We should bring them back. We should allow them to come. We should allow these people that probably have committed matricide and patricide, and we should have them fucking come to our land, and we should just raise them normally because everything's gonna be fine. They're probably not monsters.
No, it kind of reminds me of when colonizers would bring back Native Americans to Europe or something that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was really strange.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It makes absolutely no sense, and it's one of those things, so I recently read this book. It's called On Evil. It's by a Canadian philosopher, Adam Morton, and what he talks about is these ideas of what is evil? What is an evil act? How can a human being commit an evil act if that person isn't evil? And so it's talking about how we as human beings have these logical barriers that aren't even ones that are taught to us. He talks about how, before you're 10 years old, if you see a child, if you're a child and you see another child pushed down on the playground, when you see that happen, there's a part of you that understands that that's wrong. And that's what, he would call something like that small scale evil. But the one thing that he talks about is that it's the idea of basically doing an act that's beyond the standards of comprehension to who it's being acted on. And so basically and the example that I would use relative to the movie, which we're still in the first 5 minutes of the movie, the example that I would use for this movie is when Mel steals candy from a baby. Okay, now that's what Adam Morton would consider small scale evil. Okay, however, it is an act beyond the comprehension of who it's being acted on. That baby doesn't understand what's happening to it. That act in its mind is so beyond anything, and to a normal person, to make a child suffer is beyond comprehension. It's not an act that a person would normally do. But the thing is that they're living in a fucking society where that's the norm. Everyone is doing monstrous acts all the time, which is where you get to Adam Morton's second definition of evil, which is the idea that through the banality of your social confines, things that would normally be considered evil are now regular acts. And the thing that he compares that to is like, during World War II, where you would have, he has a very specific example where it's like a bus driver that was taking people to extermination camps. And the thing is that bus driver, he was unable to imagine what was happening to these people, but he was just put in a situation where it's just his job. And with all the things that were happening in Nazi Germany, it was such a common thing to be a bus driver. And because of his lack of imagination, he didn't have imaginative compassion that allowed him to not do it. He was just put in this situation where this was a standard way of life, and he was just doing what he did. And we think of what he did as an evil act. We're like, how could you do that, you fucking monster? But at the same time, he's in a situation where the regular confines of society have been degraded and broken down to the point where it's a norm.
And not only that, there's no alternative.
And there is no alternative.
If you say no, then you'll be on the bus going to wherever they're going.
And that's what this fucking island is. They're living on this island, which is fucking monstrous.
So you're saying that the evil that they're doing day to day is the norm for them.
That's now the norm.
So it's a norm for them since birth, from what we understand. So why the fuck are they singing about being evil? Like why? Why?
Why are they singing about being rotten to the core? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Like they have nothing to compare it to. Like their whole life.
That's true.
All their lives they've been doing these things. It's the norm for them.
Yeah, but you also have to realize that it's the anarchy concept of like who has the biggest gun. They're the kids of the greatest evil villains. Okay. So they are, even in that society, they are the most powerful. They are most likely raping and murdering people, much like how every single one of them is probably born out of a non-consensual sexual act. Because none of them have a spouse. None of them have a secondary parent.
Yeah, that's true.
Every single one of them was probably born out of rape. So... after they've danced and had a whole bunch of fun, that's when they meet with Maleficent, and Maleficent's like, hey guys, guess what? You guys are getting sent off the island to go live at, the mainland because the stupid king is a stupid idiot and he thinks that this is a good idea. And so a limo comes, picks them up.
Yeah, a limo comes and What time period does this movie take place in?
Like this year.
This year?
I think it's this year. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's this year.
Okay.
Cool. Like 2017. Like they said it 2 years in advance from when it premiered. Jay and Carlos are just like grabbing stuff. They're trying to steal entire television sets because that's hilarious. And then they get out of the limo, and then they're like, yeah, but just like we're trying to pee. All four of them, I guess, at the same time. And so then they get sent to their quarters, which is where they meet my boy Doug, who's the son of Dopey.
I love Doug.
You liked him too?
Yeah.
Yo, I fucking loved him. He introduces himself not by his name, but actually as I'm the son of Dopey. and then that's also his for some reason he's trying to just list off all their names.
Well, so that I was a little confused
with that.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on his father being Dopey, so he just started listing his parents, and I was like, well, does he not know which one of the dwarves? Like it was, they all took turns.
oh boy.
But then Tommy pointed out
it was
Dopey.
Do you think they all took turns with Snow White?
Wait, Dopey, he was... What is his deal? He just wasn't smart? Or
yeah.
Okay.
He just wasn't very
but Doug
smart.
seemed fine. He seemed like
I'm pretty sure
I guess that gene skipped over him.
Yeah.
because he was a normal person, like an average person,
Like Tiptoes.
like Tiptoes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Yellow.
And his child will be normal because that's as soon as you are no longer a dwarf, then that gene is no longer hereditary.
That's how it works.
Which is the problem with the movie Tiptoes, is that Matthew McConaughey is like, the kid might be a dwarf. It's like, no, because you're full size and now it's gone. It just is gone.
Really?
Yeah, that's not a point of contention in your life. Now that you're full size, you can't have children that aren't full size.
So 2 full size people could, even if they had the genes somewhere down the line in their family history, cannot have a dwarf child.
Yeah, they're completely normal now.
Oh.
Yeah. I also love how, they get to the stupid place. So this is our first movie with a MacGuffin, which is super cool. Cause I was starting to think it would never happen. Which is a thing that happens in real movies where there is an item of unimaginable power that drives the plot because that's what they're there for. And so in this movie, the MacGuffin is the fairy godmother's wand, which if Maleficent gets it, she will become all-powerful.
Yep.
Which part of me thinks that the twist of this movie where the barrier breaks down, that should have been their real intention.
So I don't want to skip to the very end of the movie, but
Okay.
the barrier is destroyed.
Yeah.
By the fairy godmother's
wand.
daughter. Yeah, her wand. But
by her daughter. Yeah,
by accident.
Yeah.
But do they ever show? They never show the barrier being repaired. So at the end of the movie, the current state of the world is that island is unprotected, and those people can just swim right over to Auradon.
We all know they fixed that shit like immediately.
You think?
They're like, oh yeah, we can't let you guys out.
And like it broke, and the only person to notice was
the evil queen was the one that yells expositionally, "The barrier is broken!" And it's like, thanks. Like we saw it happen.
We just saw the shitty CGI scene where it broke. Thank you.
But I'm glad that you reiterated what we just saw. Thanks. But yeah, so that's the MacGuffin. The MacGuffin is that they're trying to seize this wand, and I love how quickly they get to doing it.
It's within the first 25 minutes.
Yeah,
like they get there, they have their little chit chat, and they're playing video games in the dorm, and then they are off to the museum.
They are off. And I also love, so they establish in the beginning, which I was super mad because I was like, anytime that a movie starts with narration and then never uses it again pisses me the fuck off. Like Houdini, okay, had so much narration.
They committed.
But they committed to it. And in that case, the movie has a very clear narrative voice. Not a great one.
A very chaotic voice.
A one that loves puns. He loved jokes. He loved talking about magic and getting punched in the gut. But it had a single narrative voice. I hate anytime there's a fucking movie where it's like, let's have narration at the beginning, then there's no narration, and then the narration comes back, and then it's like, well, that was my story, what did you think? And so that happens in this movie. And in the beginning narration, they establish how shitty the world is, how shitty their conditions are, and that they don't have Wi-Fi. And so that's when I was just like, so how are they that good with computers if the only computer that they clearly have access to is the one that the parents use later on in the film to Skype with their kids?
I don't know, because
Carlos fucking kills it with that GPS like immediately.
No, I know, and so that little intro movie where the book opens and there's an iPad.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so it's obviously set like in present day, but then once you see them dancing in the streets, it looks like some kind of shanty town. and there's no sense of modern technology where they live, except for like those broken down skyscrapers.
Yeah,
I don't know, but they're fascinated with that video game. They're like, oh my god, it's like I've never. So a little confusing, but so they get to the museum.
Mal has a book that Maleficent gave her after pulling it out of the freezer, and it has a whole bunch of spells in it, and so she uses it to put the guard to sleep, reenacting the spell from Sleeping Beauty, which is also funny because later on in the movie on Parents' Day, when the son of Prince Charming is a fucking dick, Evie pulls out a perfume bottle and sprays him in the face and knocks him the fuck out.
That was the most fucked up scene of the whole movie.
Okay, right?
I was like, it was like, it was like one of those videos online, like a riot breaks out and then like people get fucked up and stabbed. Like in the blink of an eye, they were arguing and then she comes up and just fucking blows magical poison in someone's face, and she goes out. She collapses, and everyone freaks out. I'm like, oh my god, did she murder her?
And so that was the thing, is that it's like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, how come she wasn't just using that all the time? And in terms of characters that like are evil or are not evil, like Evie is just vain and I guess pretends to be stupid, but she's not really that stupid.
Yeah, she's really smart.
and so the fact that she has this date rape perfume the entire fucking movie, I was just like, well, how come they didn't use that all the time?
Or like any of their magic.
Yeah. So anyway, they should have used that to take out the guard, is what I'm saying, but they didn't. They used this spell that takes a really long time.
But
and
so
then
they do it though. He gets knocked out.
They get knocked out. She uses magic to open the door. Jay tries kicking the door at the same time. He falls down. It's hilarious. Then they go upstairs, and then that's when Mel has her first solo musical number. Which is the intro theme to the song Evil Like Me, so this movie was not originally a musical.
Yeah, I read that.
Okay.
Because the songs are widely different in like style, which I found was like kind of strange. Like most musical movies and musicals, they have like similar genres.
Yeah,
song to song,
a continuing tonality. Yeah.
But this was like a big bandy type number.
So
right, I think this is the one where they're in the museum, right? Yes.
So in the museum, that one is very much the reason that it is a musical is because the director that they got is the guy that did High School Musical, and so
he came in, he was like, oh no,
and so that was like his director's vision, basically. Instead of picking some choice shots, instead of doing anything else a normal director does when they're directing a movie, he was like, I'm just gonna add a fucking shit ton of music.
And I think it was a good call.
It was a great call.
I think without those, I didn't like all of them, but without the musicals, it'd been kind of a boring movie.
And that's, I will say, the regular tone of the music is very much just like modern day pop schlock. Mm-hmm. But then you also have the two songs that have very specific tone changes are the song that we're talking about right now, which is Evil Like Me, which is where she has a vision of her mother talking about just like, I know you're having a bunch of thoughts and all these weird feelings, but don't you want to be evil? Mm-hmm. It's fun being a sadist. And that song is very much like a throwback to like, old like 1950s, 1960s musicals. Mm-hmm. It's like super campy. And so I think that makes sense just because of the fact that it is the mother singing a song like that. And so it's a throwback to the era that she would have enjoyed for music. Okay. And then the other one that's also not tonally the same is the terrible song that happens when he's professing his love to Ben, when he's under the love potion spell, and it's during the cool whatever kind of / lacrosse game. But that song is very much like a harken back to High School Musical. Yeah. It's literally that exact same style. And then everything else is just like regular good old pop schlock,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she... You are not pleased.
It was like a little bit of dubstep.
Yeah.
Which is alright. I like the ballad that Mel sings to Ben at the lake. That was a pretty cool.
If only.
That was a good ballad.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Even though he drowns during that scene, like he jumps in the water, and then she goes, and then she's singing for 3 minutes, and he is nowhere to be seen. He's underwater.
I think that's when he was cleansing himself, and then that's when the love spell wears off, and he's reflecting. That's what's happening during that sequence. Yeah. But there's no plot holes in this movie at all.
None.
No, there definitely are.
So they find the wand after this musical.
Yeah.
After the song, in the museum. And the wand is protected by some sort of force field.
Yeah, and so it sets off an alarm, and they're like, "Jeez, at the cops!" And then they have to run out of there.
One of my favorite lines in the whole movie is right there. So Carlos gets on the phone to turn off the alarm because I guess the police are calling, and they ask him like where the alarm's originating from, and he says something like, "Oh, it's coming from the 114 ship in the breadboard circuit." I was like, what? What the fuck are they talking about? Is it the breadboard circuit? Isn't that like what they use to show you how a circuit board works in high school?
Yeah.
Like the breadboard? Okay. That's what I thought. I was like, it was so fucking stupid. Anyway.
I thought that during that sequence that he was going to pull a Han Solo and like pick up the phone and be like, "We're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?" But yeah, and so then they run back to school because they don't know what else to do. They're gonna have to figure out a new plan.
I have a couple questions about this part. So okay, so everyone
The heist.
Well, the heist brought up it raised some questions. So everyone that's not on the Isle of Evil, whatever it's called, they're the good people.
Yeah.
So why is there need for a security system? Why is there need for a police force? If everyone on that island is devoid of evil, technically, because if they were evil, they would be on the Isle.
Holy fucking shit! What? How have I not thought of
what
that? Holy shit.
And also,
did they make that fucking like barrier and security system just for the kids
that's
day?
what I'm saying. And
did they just set that up?
And piggybacking off that, they seem to they seem to be in this age of kind of shedding magic and going straight into science. Like science is the future. The fairy godmother is like not about magic at all. She's all about science.
Yeah.
So they ban magic from what I can tell, but they use magic to protect the wand. They use magic to keep these people in prison on the island. It seems like they use magic only to control the population.
Yeah.
But they ban it from citizens.
Yeah.
It's a really fucked up society they're living in. Like, they won't let the kids use magic to change their hairdos because it's a gateway spell.
It's gateway spell.
like what? Oh, sorry, that's like the biggest plot hole, and that
just blew my mind because I didn't even think about the fact that the fairy godmother would be protecting her wand against fucking nobody.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, unless that the people that are on that island are strictly just the descendants of evil people.
They're clearly not, though.
It's just kind of everyone.
Are you telling me that really nice flamboyant man with his silk scarf like stand? Are you telling me that he's an evil villain or an evil villain's child? Because I don't know who he would be.
So,
because he seemed real nice.
So it's people who break rules too, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what that island's for too. Maybe for people who do break into museums and steal things.
And in which case, you're right. Who are they protecting the wand from?
Just it was a little weird.
So then, the next day they have their first day of school, where they have goodness classes, which basically Mel talks about how just use logic of anything that's probably fun is what is probably the correct answer. It's So whatever.
Don't poison babies.
Yeah, don't poison babies.
Yeah.
Have fun with them. But yeah, and so just going through dumb stuff that happens at the school. Evie has the magic mirror. She uses it to cheat, and then Prince Charming's son sees that she's cheating, and he's like, "I think you're pretty smart," and then he just manipulates her to cheat on her tests. And then that's when they decide that the real way to get the magic wand is to become friends with the dumb fairy godmother's daughter. And so they try and make her look attractive.
Do a makeover on her.
And so that's when they start using the magic spells. And then everyone wants to use the magic spells, including that bitch Mulan's daughter, who's a real bitch. But so basically, they come to the conclusion that the fairy godmother's daughter isn't going to do shit to help them. And so at the coronation, if she were the girlfriend of Ben, she would get to sit next to him. And so she makes a little love potion, which they use Mulan's daughter's tears to make the love potion. Mulan's daughter's tears, of course, are sad tears, because they give her exposition about what it's like to be raised by shitty parents. And
what it's like to be imprisoned on an island while the rest of society is enjoying the riches and luxury of living in the kingdom. Like that's what that scene was about.
Yeah, and then
like they all know what's going on over there.
Yeah, they don't fucking care either, because they're living in bliss. And so Mulan gets sad and she cries into the cookie batter. And then she gives it to Ben. Ben falls in love. Ben sings a song that's like High School Musical. They then go on their first date. It's her first date ever. So Evie is helping out Mel with all the different outfits that she could wear, because Evie is super vain and just all about looking pretty and blah 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 whatever. And so she basically just wears a dress with her same dumb leather jacket that she wears the whole rest of the movie. And then when Ben opens the door, he says, "For the first time, I understand the difference between pretty and beautiful." All right.
He had some of the cringiest lines.
And then
go on, you have more?
And so then during If Only, they have a flashback to that scene, which I've never seen in a movie before. But a lot of this movie is clearly just they made a bunch of music videos and then just shoved them into a movie. They're like, all right, so let's just, I don't know, like, let's have him dance with the band. That would be a fun music video, right? We could do that. We can fit that in here. They're like, what about, people like Be Our Guest. Got to do that again. How about, they have, like, a Pitch Perfect version where it's like, I don't know, they're welcoming people. That'll be a fun music video, right? Well, people dance and spin around. What if they did like a stomp-esque dubstep running around Shantytown? Yeah, that would be a cool music video. And then that's it. That's what they do for this movie. And then when he gets out of the water, he basically is like, I told you that I loved you. How do you feel? And then she says, I don't think I know what love is. And he says, maybe I can teach you. And I was like, this movie's fucking amazing.
That's what you said to yourself?
That's what I said to myself. I was like, this movie is the fucking greatest movie I've ever seen. And then, that's the main, oddly enough, that's the tipping point for the movie. When that happens, that's when she has a legitimate change of heart, and she's like, man, I should make an anti-love potion and give it to him, and just like cure him of everything. Because during the scene where they use the date rape drug, that's when basically the entire island turns on them.
I would say that's the tipping point, because that's when she's really like, well, I'm just gonna go do the plan. I'm gonna go steal the wand. But then she also shows compassion there with the anti-love potion. Yeah, she doesn't want him to suffer.
And that was, I will say, super weird lesson from this movie, which is that basically you have him, he has the curse removed by being in the lake. By swimming in the lake, the spell's removed. And so he knows that she made him be in love with her, dump his girlfriend, and he's totally fine with it.
He still trusts her.
That part blew my mind.
And then she feeds him more drugs.
That's what I'm saying, is that like when she's like, I on the day of the coronation, she's like, I have a little gift for you, and then he's like, well, give it to me now, and he starts eating it, And then she's just like, do you feel any differently about me? Because she didn't expect him to eat it so early, and so she thinks that the love spell is going to wear off. And he's like, well, you're just waiting for the anti-love potion to take effect? And she's like, yeah, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I know that you put the love potion on me. She's like, how long have you known? He was like, when I went swimming, it wore off. I knew that. And he was like, but I get it. You thought I was cute. You knew I was in a relationship. You didn't think this could happen on its own. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, she totally not only manipulated you, but also ended your last relationship, and you are fine with it. You are fine. You're not like, you're a monster of a person. You're fine with it. Which is, it brings me to one of the main problems that I have with this movie. If, this is my biggest problem with this movie, is that fucking Beast is the king, and Beast is basically a fucking villain. It doesn't make any sense. He's a fucking monster.
Yeah, why is he the king?
Why is he the king? He is literally a monster. Okay? And so when he was like, oh yeah, it's fine that you like broke my other girlfriend's heart and that you put a spell on me and you made me end this previous relationship, because you know what, like, I'm the son of a D-bag.
Well, he did say at the beginning of the movie that he didn't start making good decisions until I guess he met what's her face, Belle.
He said that
like until he was in his 30s or something. Yeah, and then that's when he met Belle. Is that her name? Belle? I don't know. Beauty and the Beast. Who's the prince? Who's the girl? And
the timeline of Beauty and the Beast is that he didn't meet Belle until he was 20.
Okay.
Yeah, because the spell for Beauty and the Beast, by the time he turns 21, if he hasn't met his true love and all that, then he'll become a beast forever.
He still has a little beast in him, and so does his son.
And so that's what I'm saying.
Is that funny? Did you see like there's 2 times when he like starts yelling like a monster?
Yeah.
As a kid.
at the very end, where they both
stupid.
yell and they're like, "Roar!" and
it's like he's not a werewolf. You know what I mean?
He's not a werewolf. I mean, that would have been a cool thing if they could transform or something, but no.
That's not how that story works.
And that's kind of like so obviously if Beast has a kid, Beast is now just a regular guy. So the kid's a regular guy.
That's what I'm saying. It was a curse.
But then the other thing is, I don't know if you saw this under trivia, is that apparently, so one of the characters at the end of the movie is the Little Mermaid's daughter, and it's the girl in a wheelchair. And so I was like, does that mean that if a person is a mermaid and then they become human and they have a child, that their legs don't work because they're used to like the genetic coding of the legs think they're supposed to be a fin, and so they just don't fucking work? I was like, why does the Little Mermaid's daughter have to be in a wheelchair?
That's fucked up. But, it makes sense.
It does make sense.
If only they had something they could use that was, like, supernatural that could fix things like that. Like magic.
Yeah. Like the wand. The one that could turn a pumpkin into a stagecoach.
Make a poor little girl walk again.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. All that's being used for imprisoning children and women on an island.
The fairy godmother is like, God made you that way, daughter of Little Mermaid. Ariel's her name.
Yeah.
Then they have the coronation ceremony. There's the twist. Fairy godmother's daughter steals the wand, accidentally opens up the dumb portal. Maleficent shows up, grabs the wand, is like, what up, bitches?
And then it gets real like Dungeons and Dragons.
that sequence also
it was so ambitious.
When Jay is running away from Maleficent, that might be the only shot that I considered interesting this entire movie. To be 100% honest, it's terrible green screen. Dude, I will admit that. When he's running, it looks like garbage, but I was like, okay, that's like your first ambitious shot of this entire movie.
Even like they didn't even get extras in that scene. Like most of those people were CG people. It would just look like little pieces of putty like stretching.
Yeah,
it was so bad.
Yeah, she turns into a dragon, and then they have a cool staring contest. Mel says a spell that she's never said before. it turns her into a little newt.
So she's more powerful at this point than her mother.
Yeah.
Because of love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is what they're saying.
Gotcha.
And then, she gives the wand back. She's like, Fairy Godmother, I think this is yours. Fairy Godmother's like, we're sorry that we treated you like a bitch the past 20 minutes of this movie. And then the narration comes back in. And she's like, you thought my story was over? It's not over. Because my narration just came back in, and so we'll probably have a sequel. All right. So, here's IMDb trivia. Mal isn't her full name. Maleficent, her mother, won't give Mal her full name until she proves that she is evil enough.
So she will never have a full name.
This one's amazing. The exterior and some of the interior sets of Ordon Prep are the same ones used for Xavier's school in X-Men 2.
Really?
It was also the Luthor Mansion in Smallville and the Queen Mansion in Arrow.
Oh.
So this is just like a comic book movie set. There was originally going to be a character named Aziz, who would be the son of Aladdin and Jasmine. But for some reason, he was cut out. Because Jay is clearly the son of Aladdin. Carlos is actually a techie and extremely good with computers. He once made a barrier around the Isle of Lost disappear for a split second using just a computer. I think that's something established in the books.
That should have been established in the movie.
It would have been good if they established it in the movie. And they do literally say right here that Jafar's son Jay is portrayed more like Aladdin, that for some reason Jafar is portrayed like a market salesman, similar to the market salesman in the beginning of Aladdin. Oh, the dragon at the end of the movie took over 2,000 hours to animate.
Oh, man.
How does that make you feel?
I don't know.
It does not look like that.
It was ambitious.
Here are some IMDb goofs. After Ben eats the brownie that Mal gives him in the carriage, you hear Ben say Mal's name, but his mouth never moves.
Oh.
Mal tells her mother that the coronation is on Friday, and Fairy Godmother says that Family Day is on Sunday, yet during Family Day, Mal refers to the coronation as tomorrow, which is on Monday. Also, the Little Mermaid had a daughter that doesn't have legs that work.
Is that yours? That wasn't on this.
That was not on the list. Next week we'll be doing Descendants 2.
This is our first sequel?
This is our first sequel.
Nice.
Well,
this is a good one to do it for. So.
Is it?